day here on Splash Play means another shot at $1.5 million for first place in Best Ball Mania 5. Of course, we have the usual injuries, preseason news, and that big old draft coming up. So let's get into it. I'm, of course, already in the draft room. Today, I'll be picking in my familiar 12-hole. We'll see what we get on the way back. But preseason news, lots of injury stuff to get into. Let's put up the Underdog banner. Again, forgot to update it again. But $1,000 in bonus cash you can get Underdog. Check the link in the description if you want to do that right now. Tyreek Hill missing practice due to hand injury. He could go, according to Mike McDaniel, but they don't want to make it worse. So if he does play, if he were full go, you'd have a shot at making it worse. So that's coming up for Tyreek. Jamar Chase, willing to miss games is the exact quote, and is hold in. Bengals don't want to pay him until next year. He wants to get paid early. That is where that is standing right now. He's also in a spot, too, where he's racking up fines, but theoretically they can waive them all because he's on his rookie deal. So that's what they're going through. Quick look at the chat, too. Shouts out, I'm a loser until I win the Millie. LFG, hope you go all the way. Team Stochastic sent me. 1-800-GAMBLER left me on hold, so I came here. Thank you for that one. I hope it was good context to Team Stochastic sending you, but appreciate that one. Shout out to the rest of the chat. We got some GMs, some mornings, a dreaded 12 spot that Tyler knows I get all too well. But appreciate all you guys being here live and hanging out. We got the rest of the news here, and then we'll get some more chats. The quote-unquote plan is to get Jahmyr Gibbs going next week after his hamstring injury, according to Dan Quinn. So Jahmyr Gibbs, we talked about, not really an injury concern. He did have a very brief fall. The markets immediately corrected that, saw the news, I guess, and they liked the guy, so they didn't want to panic too much. As a result, Jahmyr Gibbs never really had a big ADP drop. That ADP drop should have never really been there anyway, because he's going to be playing, it seems like, in time for week 1. Brandon Ayuk, another exact quote, a few contract details that require ownership approval are all that stand between him and getting his deal signed. So Brandon Ayuk closer than ever to get that thing signed. And again, the Steelers stuff wasn't ever the most likely. Now we seemingly know for a fact, I guess not a fact, but it still could fall apart last minute. But it does seem it's like dotting some I's, crossing some T's kind of stuff for Brandon Ayuk and the Niners at this point. Jaylen Warren out for the week, but it's not a long-term concern, was the exact quote from Mike Tomlin. So there we go with that. Back to news in a minute. Let's make some picks. Marvin Harrison goes, but Puka does not. So we will do Puka's definitely one of the picks here. If I got to 16% Puka, I wouldn't be mad at it. Puka, do like Drake, could reach it up Debo, but I'm kind of not there yet. In BBM, I'm not even 120 BBMs in yet. So we're going to go Drake London here. The team so far, Puka, Drake London start. I've got a lot of Harrison, Drake London starts at the 12 spot, and we're differentiating in the other half that week 17 correlation with our pal Puka Nacua. And of course, no MHJ and Puka here, even though I do have a few shares now, so I'm not totally in the dark on it. We got Greg Roman. I put this news item in. It's noteworthy. Maybe it could mean he gets more time outside. Greg Roman says Ladd McConkey blocked well in preseason week 2. So the run game, he said, looked better. They want to see more out of it. But part of that, he felt like as a wide receiver blocking well, the wide receivers overall blocking well. And Ladd in particular, he shouted out as being a good blocker. So at this point, for Ladd McConkey lovers, you're rooting for him to be a good blocker and keep that going. We got Brock Bowers out with a sore foot, which is also why he didn't play in preseason week 2. So something to watch there. Wouldn't worry about it. Foot injuries can compound a little bit, no pun intended. So something I'm just putting in here, but I would say try not to worry. But you miss a preseason game, you miss summer practice the next week, a little bit of worry. Tyquan Thornton looks to be a starter for New England alongside Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk, seemingly mixing that group up again. KJ Osborne is back working with the second team. So Osborne, they paid the money to this offseason. He's a good blocker. I don't know that he's dead, but he's certainly not talented. Tyquan, though, apparently New England's been feeling like he's had a good camp this entire time. So weren't a lot of reports about him working with the first team, but then they've started to come out the last few days. And now it looks like he's regularly working with the first team. Ricky Pearsall, unlikely to be active week 1, on pace to miss the rest of the preseason with the shoulder injury he had. He's been banged up this entire time. Hard to earn your way up the depth chart when you have him this banged up. When he did play, he wasn't getting much separation. So Pearsall, I think, is a guy that should be in like the 180s, 190s right now. He hasn't moved there, but I think that's where he should be. Juwan Johnson off the PUP list, as we expect this whole time. The greatest buy window of a guy who said he was going to be playing week 1, and now he's on pace to play week 1. He's back, looking good. According to the beat reporters, looks as good as he's ever looked. So foot injury not going to affect him, it would seem. Darius Slayton played ahead of Jalen Hyatt, but Hyatt was first team for the walkthroughs. It's a little bit weird there, but Slayton moving ahead of Hyatt is a new development. They might like the way that looks overall. Slayton, the guys have talked about. Daniel Jones does trust them. They have a real-life friendship, so for Slayton, could be something that's getting him on the field a little bit more. And Hyatt, a guy I take a lot in the 18th round. I still think that upside's there, but might want to mix in some Slayton down the home stretch, even though you generally like the younger guy. Khalif Raymond solidified himself as Detroit's wide receiver 3. So exact quotes about that one. They think that they could play the entire game alongside, or that he could play the entire game alongside Amon-Ra, alongside Jameson Williams. They're not worried about his size. So I think mostly, if I had to guess, is because nobody else really sees the job and they trust Khalif Raymond. Still a chance. You can see DPJ in the mix. Still a chance. Doris Fountain, if he hangs on the roster, could be in the mix. But it does feel like Khalif Raymond, if they don't have anybody else, he's locked to the job right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire dealing with PTSD stemming from a 2018 self-defense incident. I don't recall ever hearing what the incident was. I didn't have time to look it up. But PTSD is what he's going through. So, mental health stuff, always important. Usually not something you're hearing about in terms of why a guy's not in camp, but that's what's happening. So, that's basically it. Jordan Mims working with the New Orleans first team more, scored a practice CD. Mims, according to the beat reporters, quote unquote, continues to catch eyes. So Jordan Mims, maybe a guy who results in Kendre Miller not making the roster, would be a chance that could happen based on the coach speak. Kendre Miller being out with the hamstring basically for like a month now. Maybe a little bit less than that, but it feels like it's been a month. So Jordan Mims, seems like might be locking down that RB3 job. And Kamara's still banged up in front of that room as well with his back injury. I don't think he's going to practice yet, but he's had that back injury that kept him out tail end of last week. Jelani Woods out for an indeterminate amount of time with toe surgery. He was likely to get cut anyway. Will Mallory is expected to make the roster. He's somebody I would keep a faint eye on, but the Indianapolis room is still going to be probably pretty crowded with Mo Alley, Cox, Kylan Granson, maybe still Ogletree on the roster as well. But Mallory looking good, expected to make the roster, playing well in the second team with Joe Flacco. We do know loves to feed tight ends pretty well. And Jaheim Bell, a guy who was faintly interesting coming out of FSU last year, or this year rather. In the draft season, though, feels like last year. But basically, had some interesting stuff. Kind of more of an H-back guy. But he does earn targets at a pretty good route run rate or target route run rate. Vaguely interesting there because Hunter Henry has been banged up. Hooper out of practice as well. But Bell is not moving ahead of those guys. He's just filling in because they're out. So there we go. That's the news segment for today, guys. It's everything I thought was important. If you got value out of that one, please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Your engagements go a long way for me. And I try to, again, I'm just showing my gambling here on stream here every day. Ultimately, I do try to bring process to that, bring research to that, bring everything I do to keep myself abreast of what I'm trying to do as I'm aiming to max out BBM here on stream. So hit the like button, subscribe, do all that. All right, we got our picks coming up here. We'll get some chats coming up. Got a lot to do here today. Let's see. This guy taking the clock. Really thought we could just hop right in my pick. Nothing I enjoy less than when they time out that thing not perfectly for me. We have Puka Nacua here, Drake London, Pacheco. I've been making up my exposure on the turn. I don't mind continuing to do that. He would be the ADP pick. His ADP has come up, man. I know I had to move him up too, but I moved him up to get ahead of his ADP. Now his ADP is beaten where I moved him up to in my rankings this week. But we are going to take Isaiah Pacheco there as part of this. Laporta, I don't mind. Pittman. If I take Pittman, could potentially have two Giants correlations later on. Oh, another share of AR coming up. All right. Could also do some Chiefs stuff. Let's see if we can do Chiefs stuff, right? If not, we can just make a bet on the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes, which I can live with. I'll get a share of Kelsey here. I'm just like Pittman. There's times I'm willing to take him. I've taken enough AR lately. I'm like around, I think, 10% AR. I can get to my 16 safely. I don't need to do AR again necessarily. Now, I can't see my ownership with AR specifically for some reason. Anyway, I think AR I'm at about 10%. Team so far, Pacheco, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Travis Kelce. So 2 premium deviations there. We're going to have to make it up a receiver after that. All right, a lot of chats here. I have PTSD thinking about all the times I passed on Rice in the 80s. Well, he has come up quite a bit. That much is there. Apparently, you got to take him in the 30s now. But I think Rice still might suck. Rice also, again, competing for a lot more targets than he ever has. I think we got to keep that in mind as well. He's very open about and how he and the Chiefs are working through it. I mean, that's good to hear. Good to hear. I just had to hear about the mental health stuff being actually addressed in a sport that sometimes doesn't do a good job about that. I went through some of the earlier chats here. Hill broken hand is the worst. He wouldn't have a broken hand. They wouldn't say he could go if he had to. If he had a broken hand. A lot of these preseason injury reports end up being nothing. Can be hard to separate the signal from the noise. It's what I try to do every day. That's what I say, though. For the most part, these injury things are buying windows. Still, sometimes you can end up in situations like last year where Christian Watson, I guess we didn't really have a buying window. We didn't know he had a hamstring injury. Then he had one, and we just kind of had to deal with it as soon as the season was starting. But there were some other guys like Jerry Jeudy last year, Cooper Kupp, where you had a buying window for the injury. All right, so Mahomes goes at 44 here. Hopefully this guy stacks him up, but you just don't know in these unbadged rooms. So we got ourselves a KC bet without Mahomes, which I can also live with. The Mahomes part of it for me, I talked enough on stream generally about how I'm not the highest on the Chiefs. Think that they're leaping their offense forward from last year, where it was a team that played very conservatively, kept Mahomes safe. We're focused on the defense more so, focused on the run game, short, low A-dot stuff, getting the ball out, even though they were still a high drop back team. I just have concerns that we're paying a price tag for the Chiefs suddenly being the early 2000s Rams. I have concerns that we're paying that price tag for a team that I think wins the best by just being a little more conservative. So I don't have a lot of Mahomes, but that said, the Chiefs still a team going to win 11 games, maybe 12 games. They're going to have production. So having some sort of parts of the Chiefs without doing Mahomes fully at his price tag where he doesn't run enough. You got Jalen Hurts near him here. You got Lamar. You got AR and Stroud going later. You have my boy Jaden Daniels for significantly cheaper. You have a lot of good QBs who I think can do similar things as passers to Mahomes. I just don't agree with the Mahomes price tag. I don't agree reaching for him at 44. If this guy gets worthy and whatever on the way back, I guess it makes sense. But I just hate that price tag on Mahomes, and I've hated it from day one. I don't know if I ever fully vocalized why I hated it. Only thing broken for Tyreek is his pullout game. He's going to get so many tax credits, though, depending on who wins at president this year. $6K for each newborn in tax credits. That'll add up. Heard it was a thumb strain for Tyreek. Yeah, again, it wouldn't be a thing where you'd go, he could play with his broken hand, but we don't want to make it worse. I don't think that's how I would go normally medically or at a football level, but what do I know? You could go with a broken hand with a lot of wrap and a cast on, but usually the guys playing with a broken hand are linemen, maybe a tight end, people who aren't doing tactile things with their hands. If you're trying to be tactile, it's an important part. Do want to do one thing real fast here. One of our guys, D. Owens, I got to be honest about this up front, just because I love D. Owens, but we have had weird things in the past of people trying to do fundraising stuff. And then there's one guy who I think faked a heart attack to get money from the community. But I do want to try to shout out our guy D. Owens, who's been a good guy for a while, supporter of the show, and in general, just a nice presence in chat. Sister's going through something, so I'm going to link a GoFundMe in the chat for you guys, but check it out. GoFundMe there. The link's in the chat. The most I can do here, again, if you have the means to do it and you feel like helping, one of our guys is a regular here. But that's a guy D. Owens. His sister's going through something, so there's a link. Check it out if you can. But again, if he's making up a sister, I don't know. I hate being responsible for that part. It's the one thing that even going back to Barcelona, that happened a few times, maybe not to me specifically, but in general at the company, where it's somebody had something and they were faking it to get stuff. And and I had this weird suspicion with one guy who wasn't the biggest part of the community, was around enough that we helped fundraise for once. It's happened enough times that I don't like doing it too much, but I do love D. Owens. He's a very nice guy. All right, so if we'd taken Pittman, we would have gotten AR back, which was part of why I also did want to commit to taking Pittman. That said, really not an AR build. We got our tight ends. It's also not a Kyle Pitts build. We got to make it up at receiver. Correlation-wise, I don't see anything I'm setting up, so let's just get some exposures going here for Jaden Reed. It's hard to pass up Kyle Pitts, but a Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce build makes literally no sense. Chris Godwin, I wouldn't mind making up a little bit more of, though it does feel like if I take Chris Godwin, maybe should have taken Deontay Johnson. Could do Hollywood Brown ahead of ADP, but that's also not the move. This stinks. This is not my favorite pocket. Chris Godwin, come on down. So the team here, a 0-1-4-1. We had to make it up a little bit at receiver. I could have taken Hollywood Brown. I think it makes sense with how this team looks, but Hollywood Brown's going so cheap right now. I just can't take him at 60 when he's going at 90 in some. I think in one of the rooms I did overnight, I think he went at 90 recently. So hard for me to do that. So the team so far, 0-1-4-1. Pacheco, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, and Travis Kelce. So not as week 17 correlated early on as I sometimes like to do. So that's basically it. And we got the duality of chat here. Ford is awful. Ford is a beast, but say what you will. I don't know what we're talking about. But wait, who are we? Oh, is Joey talking up Nick Chubb? Oh, is that way? Oh, Joey. That's a classic August take, man. You have an old guy coming off a catastrophic knee injury. Your chances of recovering from those knee injuries get substantially lower, over 25. So that's one to keep in mind right away. Number 2 is Jerome Ford. Number 1 had number 1 is number 2. Like for Jerome Ford, he legit had a week that would have won you tournaments last year in week 17 in a similar situation. Obviously, there was no Chubb there, but Ford has spike week upside. So you're bashing Ford saying he sucks. Foreman right now has the goal line role. That was the only first team work he got with the Browns. There's a lot of reasons not to like Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb is trying to get back. He's working hard. There's no question in my mind about how hard he's going to work, but you got to realize the guy you're investing in now is not Nick Chubb from even last year. It's not Nick Chubb from 2 years ago, especially. It's Nick Chubb now. So it's really it. This is not relevant to now, bud. This is not the way to view it. I'll give you that. What are the teams he brought to the finals look like? Generally riskier bets are balanced. They're mostly 0 RB teams, to be honest. I don't think on either DK or Underdog I've had a finalist team that's been a hero RB one, but I also did build a lot less hero RB in previous years because of where ADPs were. So that'd be the first thing, is that they've all been 0 RB for the most part. I think a mix of extreme and regular 0 RB on that front too. AR goes to 69. So people were asking earlier in the chat about the bad camp reports for him. He basically had one day yesterday where the Bengals were shitting all over him, talking trash to him. They couldn't pass well. Kind of cleaned it up by the end, which I think people will miss when going through the social media stuff for AR. Look, AR's an up and down passer. I think that last year him coming in with Shane Steichen, he wasn't a known quantity. Teams have had a year to catch up on him, to get up with what he does, to know how to play into some of his weaknesses more. He was a negative EPA per drop back player last year, which was something that spooked me a little bit. And part of why I'm not, with his price tag being what is a big thing for me too. But I'm not caping for AR quite as much. Still love the guy. I think he's a really good human being. Like everything else he does in Indianapolis, like him as a player, like what he represents. Don't like the way he takes hits. But I do think for him overall, he still represents a lot of upside. But the progress is maybe not there quite as much. It seems like in camp, Joe Flacco's been the more accurate passer, running a more consistent offense. What you're hoping for is when you get into game time, AR is going to run it. He's going to do a lot of damage there. It opens things up in the pass game more because that threat's always there. And in reality, as long as he stays upright and he's running, he's going to get you where you need to go fantasy-wise. So for AR, I'm not worried about it, but definitely something. Oh boy, Joey. Always funny when somebody who's never been in chat before comes in firing on all cylinders on a take that's, I would say, it's a very chalk take. You're given a very basic, you got to remember, Joe, you're coming into a room of people who've been doing drafts. Me especially, I've been doing drafts and this preparation process since January here on stream. So you're coming in with August energy is all I'll say, but I have more power to you if you can make it work for you. Got enough Chubb to not have FOMO if he does something crazy, be a top 15 RB. There you go. That's a fine way to do it. Look, I think his best case outcome is he gives you 75% of what he did historically, which would still be pretty good with where he's going. I don't know where he's going in redraft leagues right now, but he shouldn't be a key part of what you're doing there, because there's younger guys you get for cheaper who are part of more ascendant offenses without a Jerome Ford there, without a Deontay Foreman there, who's going to take some work away as the guy gets up to speed and recovers. But it's a lot to ask a guy to get back from that injury. And then with the timeline too, for week 1 especially, you're probably going to see Nick Chubb on the PUP list and miss a month to start the year. And that shouldn't be something that scares you about him. If anything, it should make you feel better about the fact they're not rushing him out there, because the risk of re-injury is going to get a lot higher. Less than 1% Chubb. I think I fell asleep and took him twice. I took him in the 140s. There was a point where there was a tier there that I thought worked for him. Yeah, I've got 1%. I'm not a Nick Chubb. I'm a Nick Chubb fan. I think he's really talented. I like him a lot as an RB, but I'm not a Nick Chubb fan in terms of what the outlook is for this year. We got a little bit of a fall for Jameson Williams, which I can live with here. We need the 5th receiver in. Again, correlation right now is not the best for me. But JMO locked in that wide receiver 2 job. We're okay with that. Could add another RB here. Aaron Jones, pretty big discount at this point, at least relative to everybody else. 6th receiver would be reasonable, given that we did start behind there. This is a tough call. Like Aaron Jones. Don't mind getting more Addison. I think I'm going to go Aaron Jones. Feel okay with 5 receivers and 85 picks. 6 would put us over the top here, but would kill some flexibility. So no Addison here. Aaron Jones adds in an experienced RB room, though Pacheco's still young enough. 0251, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Jameson Williams, and a tight end, Travis Kelce. So there you go. That's a start here. Some QB options coming up later on. But really nothing week 17 correlated so far. So that's a little bit rough. Smash the like. Yes, please, guys, if you're watching the show here, if you're watching live, or if you're watching after the fact, hit that like button down below. Your engagements go a long way for me. And one thing I was trying to figure out before the stream, so I'm going to be real with you guys about something, as I always am here on stream. I'm going through it. As I've kind of hinted at here, my startup probably, like we had this deal in Miami with some guys, basically had a letter of intent signed, deal terms about what we're going to do. We're supposed to get a check for 100K, and now we're not getting that check for probably. So anybody who wants to invest in a sports betting startup $5,000 right now, you can do it with me. You can DM me. Or I guess, and the math of this is not fantastic, but I'll say, if anybody wants to buy a share of my portfolio, it is for sale. The price point, though, is not, like, it doesn't make sense unless the price point's based like $1,000 for 1%. But if you do want to do that, I'm going to throw it out there because I just got to find a way to pay fucking our data provider OddsJam is coming up tomorrow. We owe them $2,000 to keep it going into the NFL season. Otherwise, we're going to have to pivot data sources. It's going to be a huge hassle. That's been a big headache for me. I've been basically talking to a lot of people around the space who might have quick access to money, but I'm like, I am digging out of it. It is so fucking frustrating to get rug pulled after like legit 5 months of working on something with somebody is the worst thing in the world. So people on the stream, because you see me every day, people are like, oh, Spags seems stressed today. Spags been stressed every day. And I've had the worst pit of anxiety in my stomach I've ever had. So now's the time. Hey, I wouldn't say sign up for Probably. If you want to learn more about probably.com. And if you want to give me money. We'll make a deal here, and I'll make sure to do the best we can to make it a good return on investment. But we're trying to see a product pivot through that we think would be really cool to make it into a search engine. And it's very hard to do that if we lose our data sources. So here's the stresses here I'm going through, guys. It's not easy building up your own businesses while also gambling on stream every day. We're making it work. We get special backdoor access. At this point, if somebody gave me $5,000, they get whatever the fuck they wanted. If they give me $125,000, you get backdoor access. $5K front door access, you get doc. I don't know. These are the stresses of life, trying to get a company out. And it sucks too, because product works. Like, we've had really good success with people that have signed up. Some of you guys in the community have signed up and done well with it. And that's just what kills me, is like you build something cool and it's like you just can't. It's hard. It's just me doing it. Like I didn't have 5 content creators with me all rowing in the same direction. It's just been me trying to put the word out there, and it's like fucking impossible. It's really hard in 2024 to like build something from the ground up. So that's where we are. This is me venting more than anything. Nothing more than asking for energy for money in 2 different ways. But yeah, support D Owens. That's the nicer thing to do. But if you want against this space and you have 5K, this is your chance to do it. We got some picks coming up here. We'll refocus. Not going to be the hour of me sweating my anxieties on stream. 2 picks at the turn. RB would look pretty good here. Correlation would also look good if there were ever any that came up. That'd be the win-win. All right, we got Tyjae Singletary here. I think this would really allow us to make it up at RB. We're good everywhere else. Also, where did... well, I'll get it in a second. Njoku, do want to get more of, but I don't think this is the build for it. And yeah, our QBs are coming up later. So, all right, Tyjae Singletary, come on down. Not a lot of value in this room. I guess the Pacheco one, which is basically just his previous price tag. Aaron Jones a little bit. But the team's balanced. 0-4-5-1 here. We got Pacheco and Aaron Jones. We got Tyjae Spears, Devin Singletary. We got Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Jameson Williams, and a tight end Travis Kelce. So got to figure out the correlation part of things. That's going to be the annoying part down the home stretch. But everything else, I think, feels pretty good in the team. All right. Shout out to all you guys watching. Appreciate it here. Again, I'm just a human being here showing you my gambling every day, doing the best I can. So you guys being here, hanging out, always appreciated. I got tagged in something on 32 beat writers. Oh, about the AR thing. People really want to know the AR thing. To be clear, my bet on AR is not much bigger than anybody else's this year. I still love AR, again, like a child, like I would a proud father who saw him come through and like do what I thought he could do last year. But I don't think the AR bets is good this year. I was seeing some guys on the ship chasing Discord talking about the price tag of AR and how that looks. And like, I kind of agree that AR being so close to Jalen Hurts, so close to Lamar, I think fundamentally in terms of what we're hoping he can be, like that's a correct price tag. But in terms of how the market treats everything else, like he probably should be more in this Kyler Murray range, or at least where Stroud and Murray usually go, just to absorb, give yourself some kind of risk there, or risk prevention, I guess, from having the guy a little bit lower. He was really inaccurate last year. Like he was great running the ball, but he still had the same flaws he had in college. So for AR, I would say that like I wouldn't freak out about him. He's still the same player, but he's just not as good of a bet as a guy like Jaden who's going at 100 and he's really accurate and I think going to clean up doing that. Literally had worst case scenario. They are balled out, weren't able to capitalize on his price, shot up brutal. Yeah, I mean, look, and it's a price too where it's like it's just not as good of a price. But again, Jaden's a new AR, so I think that's like a trope thing. I don't always want to have the hot new thing, but with how markets work, AR was destined to come up. And Jaden, for whatever reason, as we talked about enough times on stream here, Jaden Daniels, the most market-proof player in the world. Where good cosigns, great. Then people see the FUD of like, oh no, he was throwing the ball fast. Oh, God forbid our QB gets the ball out quickly to keep the defense on its toes so that he could eventually take deep shots when he's in a real game. But people don't want to drive up Jaden. So, hey. AR broke his shoulder like Baker and Watson and Rodgers did with their collarbone. Shit happens. Yeah, and it was one, too, where he broke his shoulder just being driven into the ground. It wasn't something where, like, he absorbed huge contact. Like, he got, one of the hits that people point out with Jaden Daniels, the Wile E. Coyote hits. It was like he's just running and got driven into the ground. That could have happened at any time. The people who did watch AR at Florida were very much like, oh, he's so fragile. He'd constantly come out of games. So that part of it, I think people would go, try to victory lap and maybe have some, small sample size things to back it up. But like you're buying in on mostly, here's a guy's going to throw deep balls. Here's a guy's going to run 10 times a game. There's going to be really great runs and he might run in 2 touchdowns. He might run in 4 touchdowns in a game. That alone is just worth whatever the downside is. Even him like getting crippled in game 1 somehow, it's worth that downside because of what him scoring 4 rushing touchdowns in a game could be. He could pass for 150 in that game and it wouldn't matter because he's won you everything. So I don't know. That's the trade-off. He did score a TD when he got here. He got driven to the ground right at the goal line. Goat Tony Romo. Spags knows. Yeah, well, fuck. He had a broken collarbone. That was my Halloween costume one year. I had a Tony Romo in the jersey with the shoulder sling. I feel like this room is like just taking everybody right at ADP. Though Caleb fell a little bit. Hard Knocks yesterday. This season of Hard Knocks, I don't know if you guys feel differently. I feel like it's just nothing. I think it's like maybe nice if you're a Bears fan. You're like, oh, the team's doing well. Even that game, they really didn't highlight. They like, oh, the Bears had a couple tough drives, but here's Caleb making the sick play, rushing touchdown. He's keeping the ball and putting it in his fancy boy carry-all bag. Like that's what you got yesterday. And I don't know. I feel like this Bears season way less enjoyable than the Giants front office one. Hard Knocks has been on the way down for me for a few years. But I'm trying to watch this one like on schedule every week to see if there's anything worth talking about here on the show. And it was nothing yesterday. The Giants Hard Knocks, it's just more interesting seeing the front office. Like obviously that's a little bit of the the fan in me and like the way that I enjoy football, which is building teams and playing dynasty in college football and building franchises. And like that's what I enjoy. So it's fun to see that in action for the Giants. Whereas this Bears one is just like they're not the most interesting. I think Caleb comes off like a really like a nice guy, but there's like almost something vacant about him. Like it's like there's like something that's just not all the way there. But I like him. He's almost like he's like playing the part of what Caleb Williams is rather than being Caleb Williams, which maybe is just the way that goes when you've been raised since childhood to be elite at something. Hard Knocks isn't cutting anymore for years now. Yeah, I mean it definitely has not been. It's been on the way down, but I feel like there's at least moments. This year I've just been like, all right, I don't know. I'm not getting a lot out of it. We got, at some point, you got to take a QB. I do think Kirk should be one of these picks because, again, at some point, we do have to take a QB. Didn't get any of the Washington RBs back. Usually this would be the spot where you could take an Eckler, but we are kind of done at RB. Big fall for Jerome Ford, I guess, because I put Nick Chubb on the thumbnail. People can't handle it. Mooney went early as well, so can't do that double. I think I could take Ford because Dotson could potentially fall all the way back. People don't like Dotson right now. I like Dotson enough, but Jerome Ford, another share here. Dollar costing him back down after I've taken Jerome Ford at every level of his ADP. So that's our last RB for the record. So we have a 1-5-5-1 here. We have Kirk, Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford. Really think we had to get to 5 here because we have the 2 week 6 buys. Maybe could have tried to skirt it through, but it made me feel a little bit more comfortable, especially with the 13 pick discount on Jerome Ford. Got Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Jamison Williams, and Travis Kelce here. So KC stacked up without any KC elsewhere or Pittsburgh coming back. Probably not going to be anything I want to change that with. Maybe a late free Van Jefferson, I guess. This bill's going to be tough for week 17. I don't like I like the build itself. I think the team works, but I've built so many like really clean, matchy kind of teams lately that I could use one more really clean, matchy kind of team. Every conversation between Caleb and Eberflus feels forced, scripted, and not real. Yes, I agree. It's I don't know if it's like even scripted. It's just like it's like an uncanny valley thing. It just doesn't seem real. Probably getting too Hollywood now, too scripted, maybe. And I do think, Caleb is a well PR'd guy. Like he's had ad deals now for 2 years, like national brand ad deals. So I think he's pretty well rehearsed at this point and knows what you're supposed to be as the franchise QB. Doesn't mean that's not who he is as a person, but it does feel all like a little performative, I guess would be the best way to say that. It's all just a little bit performative. But hey, he's still going to sling the shit out of the ball. He's still going to be the best Bears QB ever, by like what? I think a 10x margin. Maybe Jim McMahon in terms of a game manager, if you want to give him that, when the Bears won in the 80s. Hard Knocks broke HBO streaming last week because so many people were trying to watch it and it's doing fine. I mean, it's doing fine in terms of the viewership. I'm not saying nobody's watching it. I think this year it's actually been popular because of the Bears fans that finally are maybe going to have a good team. And I do think that's where the success for Hard Knocks would be, is that you have a major market, a team that's on the upswing. Like if they did Washington next year or even this year with how the attendance has been there, that's probably where Hard Knocks is going to do the best. But like the content's not good. I don't care about the ratings. I care about my enjoyment of it when I get out of it. Yeah, the ratings, if you want to be one of those, I'm sure they're fine. Thoughts on Cordero Patterson? Just took my first share today. No, it's old. You take one share of him, but you have Najee and you have Jalen there. Those are legit backs that should dominate the backfield. Maybe you luck box a few stolen touchdowns throughout the year, but I don't know what you're really getting out of that. What team post Giants Hard Knocks would have been better? I was like a front office one. In front office one, I think you'd want to see would be somebody who's like borderline incompetent. So we're talking Bengals, maybe. Just how the Bengals are handling the holdout. Cowboys front office would still be kind of interesting to see how they talk about the running backs and stuff. But otherwise, we're looking at teams for next year. I don't know who would be the ones for next year. Have to be a team like that. Maybe the Niners would be interesting next year because they're going to deal with some cap crush stuff. Probably have to trade Debo if they do sign Ayuk to this deal. So that'd be an interesting one for next year. Be any team where there's going to be, some flux or some bungling, I think would be mostly what you want to see. It does work for what it is. It's just 20 years in. I think you almost want to see the stakes get higher instead of lower. That's how I'd feel about it. Even the guy who did the little performance in the American Speedo, it's like, even that was like, all right, we get it. Oh, rookie. It's almost like they're doing fucking a parody of the program and every other fucking any given Sunday. It's like they're doing all that shit. Playmakers, favorite here on Splash Play. Falcons front office taking Penix. Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit of that through social media, but yeah, and that might have been more interesting, especially to see develop. What's the bet with Cordero Patterson? I mean, the bet would just be that I think he scores you 4 touchdowns. Again, it's like, it really is about, fucking Stafford goes. Tell me this guy's got Cup. Good. Unstacked Matthew Stafford. We love the unbadged drafters. Happy August. Do you think this guy likes Nick Chubb? Taking Matthew Stafford unstacked just because he's there at ADP. Ah, man. Unbelievable. Hard Knocks Volume 2 front offices. I would watch all the front office Hard Knocks more than I would watch the in-season Hard Knocks. I think the front office GMs, fucking Dotson the pick before me. Come on, bro. Oh, all right. Well, we'll get some Puka correlation, even though we can't week 17 stack it now with Michael Wilson. Oh, am I frustrated? We got Chris Godwin here. Baker Mayfield. We'll take him as well. I guess Pop Douglas should come out, given the fact that he's pretty much locked to the starting job and has been for a while. Not the sexiest click in the world is Pop Douglas, but just got to point that out while we're here. Let's give the seam a read. It's a 2-5-6-1 now. We have Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Jamison Williams, Michael Wilson, and a tight end, just Travis Kelce for now, which does make me feel a little bit vulnerable, given that Travis Kelce is a celebrity now. He's not really a football player. But we'll try to make it work, I guess. Playmakers was too real for the NFL. They couldn't take it. It was a great show. Well, good news. If you never saw Pete and I review it over the course of 12 weeks, we have a playlist on the Splash Play channel still. From back in the early days of Splash Play, back when I was still in LA and happy. Back when I was still in LA and happier. No, I guess it's a trade-off. You lose weather, you get a child. I don't know. But that's it. I mean, I guess if you saw me be annoyed at the guy who took Matthew Stafford unstacked, you got it. Can't guarantee anymore. I've got 2 QBs. I've got Baker and Kirk. What else do I need? How can that go wrong? 2 NFC South stalwarts. Hopefully, at least for 1 year. Which would not make somebody a stalwart. Want to watch a sportsbook / referee / high stakes better collaboration for Hard Knocks? No. A sportsbook one would be incredibly boring. Do you want to watch people using computers? Do you want to see the fucking the Circa guy be not as charming as he is on social media? Like, I don't know what you would want out of that. I think you're talking a niche. For somebody that wanted to talk about the Hard Knocks rating CW, I think that would be the exact opposite of the ratings that Hard Knocks is getting. That'd be a tough one. Yeah, Playmakers, it was a fun time. It's a fun time. There's really nothing else you could do that with. We had thought about doing other movies and football stuff, but the views weren't there at that point. Would have been a fun bit to continue, but what are you going to do? There's probably something for a football show to do that. I think to watch The Replacements, watch Any Given Sunday, watch The Program, watch every football movie, and just even The Longest Yard. Talk about who's who would be the fantasy stud. I think that would be fun stuff. But again, real niche. I still have the copyright strike on the channel for WWE. When Pete and I tried to watch all the NFL players doing wrestling matches, and WWE copyright struck us, and that's the only copyright strike we've had on the channel that we can't get off. So never show wrestling content on your YouTube channel was the lesson here. And it was small too. It wasn't even full screen. It was like it was partial screen. So really fucked us there. Playmakers and Tilt getting canceled is right when ESPN went over the cliff content-wise. I mean, because they were trying to do something different. It's also really expensive to do that pre-recorded TV. Not that live sports broadcasting is any cheaper, but that was a part of it too. Is the ratings weren't quite there. And well, for Playmakers, ratings were there. The NFL didn't like it. For Tilt and those other ones, it wasn't, just didn't do that well. Greg Dortch goes, which doesn't really matter. I got Michael Wilson for my Puka correlation anyway. Marshawn Lloyd down to 172, Bucky at 158. Still think these guys are very good picks in this range, even though McLaughlin's become a better pick with his time split with Javonte they've seen in the preseason. Gibson's become a better click with him being locked in the third down role. Yeah, well, Pete and I have never been in the same room together, so I think that'd be even more difficult. But yeah, it's really easy to produce at low cost. That's what we're looking for here. Ben Sinnott at 175. Weird. It's a weird time to do that. There's been no good Ben Sinnott news since that the game before last, but sure. Ben Sinnott's gonna take time to get there. I think honestly, him in the 180s felt a little bit more logical, but hey, 175 for this guy. 2-minute drill and Stump the Schwab and around the same time. Yeah, they had budget cuts across everything, I think, at that point. And then they just started re-airing SportsCenter 100 times a day. I guess they always did that, but like that's what does the best for him, is just using one thing over and over again. And now the people yelling each other format, it's crushing for him. All right, we got picks coming up here. Love Stump the Schwab. I like the Sports Reporters, which I saw they're bringing back on like YouTube. Sports Reporters was a very good show, especially for somebody that, you know, wanted to work in media. 2561 here. We do need that second tight end, and we do have a Baker Mayfield correlation. So Cade Otton will be that second tight end here. I like Noah Fant more. Honestly, could do both. If I'm just trying to squeeze through Travis Kelce, who we know has some flaws at this stage of the game. Another receiver could work, but receiver is basically just a choose your own adventure at this point. Still have to get a Washington guy back. Ugh. This room. All right. I'm going to go for one. I have an end game here, guys, but just bear with me because this is very early for Ray McCloud. But Ray McCloud is going to be my wide receiver 7. More correlation with Kirk here. We didn't really have anybody else left that I wanted. McMillan's gone for Baker. McCaffrey I can get in the last round if I want to do a Washington way. I might do Diami Brown here. I might do 2 Washington players in the last 2 rounds. So I'm going to take Ray McCloud in the 16th round. He might have still been available here at the CERN. I just needed to get him in, I think. Our AI quote of the day from our guy Adam: lots of old people don't get wise, but you don't get wise unless you age. Yes, that's true. You can't be a child. You can't be a child. Senate feels like a fine click. I agree he's a fine click. I wouldn't go 10 picks ahead of ADP on him right now, though. But look, he's one of the guys I've talked about, you know, how the battle of CLV. Sometimes you're going to have crazy CLV. I have one draft from a couple of days ago that has like 100 points CLV because of just how soft the room was. And I have ones from May where like I have really good CLV and ones where I have like minus 150 CLV. But if the lineup is still valid, if the players are still valid, that's really all that matters. So like Senate, you know, he's not locked into a role. He's probably shouldn't be a tight end 2 and a 2 tight end build. But, you know, a tight end 3, I think we feel okay about it. Shout out Tyler here, gifted a membership. I appreciate that. I don't know who got it. Let me see. Let's see on YouTube. Disbanded Brotherhood. There we go. A newer regular here, a guy disbanded. Glad to see him in. ADP in round 15 plus doesn't matter so much, IMO. Yeah, at this point it doesn't. But you still kind of want to know, like, Senate's going in the last 3 rounds. I don't know. I think in round 15, you still want to be mindful of it. But I get that he wanted Senate to correlate with Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Very low on Senate in best ball this year, but looking forward to taking him in a dynasty slow draft today or tomorrow. I still think he can hit big in best ball. I mean, we saw what he can do with the 140-yard play he had in the preseason. Like, he can really give you, you know, a touchdown in a game. He can give you, honestly, 2 catches for 50 potentially. He really does have that upside. So, in terms of guys going late, I like him. But, you know, in this range, like a lot of these guys have credible, you know, things you could say. Likely, obviously, gets a lot better with contingent value. But also, he's in the mix enough. They're going to run 12 personnel, so likely makes sense. Johnny Smith, we've seen their dedication to using him. He's getting a lot of that pass down work, even though he's still splitting time with Durham Smythe. Juwan Johnson, we talked about, he should have been free this whole time. Now here he goes in round 16. He's a guy that won BBM last year for the guy who won for Fareed Shaheed. So that's part of that. Noah Fant, better offense. A lot of guys in this range I think you can make a case for. So that's part of it. The only manifesto indicated round 14 is where ADP was. Really? Okay. 14 feels early. But, I mean, I guess with the guys going around 14, I don't know. Because, like, guys like Leggett, like, yeah, Leggett should be falling. His price tag's a vestige of before. But Wandale's a starter, and he's, like, a little bit low. So, like, I would still try to prioritize the guys that, like, have that ADP that I'm low on. Like, I do want to get more Wandale. But I guess, okay, for, like, ADP value, all right. Fair enough. I guess it's for me, I'm viewing it more in terms of, like, how the tournament's been forever. How are my exposures landing? Like, I don't think, you know, Like Leggett on the way down, is he a better play than Wandale? I think Leggett might be a bit of a falling knife right now. Tolbert on the way up feels kind of weird too, but I don't know. I really just specifically though, I just see like guys like Wandale and Demario Douglas, and I'm like, I want more of those guys, but you know, they haven't moved for a reason, I guess. See the late night DK draft rooms, pure insanity. Doesn't shock me. I mean, regular time DK rooms are insane enough, but yeah. Look, I believe you guys. I'm sure DK's having a great time. I made my stand this year. Just the BBM and drafters drafter. Speaking of, use that promo code SPLASH at Underdog. Get up to $1,000 bonus cash. Still says $250 because I keep forgetting to update it. But $1,000 in bonus cash. I don't know when that goes away, but if you are going to deposit, so if you want to hammer some tournaments on the home stretch, I would do that. If you have deposited on Underdog, go check out Drafters. Drafters, I draft on the weekends here, do 2 double headers on the weekend. I've been giving away a bunch of tickets as well for the Drafters Million. And their Drafters Million with $15 entry fees and $500K to first place. It's not going to fill. If anything, it's going to be close to like 75, maybe 80% filled. So you're talking about them putting in a couple $100,000 of overlay. So check out Drafters, drafters.com, promo code SPLASH for a $100 deposit match. And also does support the show. Frankly, supports me maxing out BBM. So it all goes hand in hand here. And your support goes a long way, as always. I'll go back to the Underdog one. Best Ball overlay tool as well, if you're curious about the data on the screen. Week 16, Week 17 matchups, exposures, all of that data comes from the Best Ball overlay tool that I use here. BestBallOverlay.com, promo code SPLASH. Tucker Craft. Tucker Craft had one nice play in camp, breaking a yak kind of play. Calls himself the yak guy on the team, which I suppose is something you can do. I've never thought of Tucker Craft and gone, yes, the yak guy. But he does seem to be calling himself the so-called yak guy. Still think Musgrave, though, the better play there, but there's a world where that could become more of an even split. Maybe a guy more so to worry about if you're taking Minnesota Green Bay. Sorry for not scrolling down, too. All right, 2 clicks coming here up here. We got to think about it a little bit. All right, so I do think going... All right, we don't have Carolina correlation. So theoretically, I should take a Carolina player here. Mingo doesn't feel great to me. I mean, look, I want to take Diami Brown no matter what, I think. So I'm going to go Diami Brown here, who's in the mix. Again, doesn't feel like he's got as good of a role as people want him to have, but Diami's going to be one of these picks for me. Second pick, I think is Jatavian Sanders. So to give me some Tampa Bay, Carolina Oppo correlation, because I didn't get it anywhere else. I could go Mingo. I could also go Ertz, who I do think is a play I want to try to get with the field on given my Synod exposure. I think the week 17 correlation favoring Sanders is the way I'm going to go here. All right, we're just going to let a timeout on Sanders. So final team here is a 2-5-8-3. So we have the Hero RB build. We have Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford. At receiver, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Jamison Williams, Michael Wilson, Ray McLeod, and Diami Brown. The tight end, Travis Kelce, Cade Otton, and Jatavian Sanders is a squad. So that's the final one here. I am going to go to another draft room. So let's switch it over. Let's pray we don't get the bad element in this room. Might be filling before you guys even see it on screen. But a second BBM draft coming up here. This is going to be BBM number 117 for me on the year. So we are at pace with the fill rate right now. Stream draft number 183 for me on the year. So 17 away from hitting 200 before the season starts. And we are picking in the 2-hole. So who do we get here? No draft stalker in here. Thank God. We are on a great run. I might be getting my draft stalker exposure down to 25%, thankfully. But here we go. Gerald Everett looks good at tight end. I don't think he looks good. He looks better than he did, but he's probably draftable in round 18. Would be shocked if Ertz is playing for the week 17 correlation. That's a good point. It's a good point. It's possible. I mean, I just mostly want to hedge against my Senate fears, but you're probably right. You're probably right. I don't think he maxed out because he's been on other streams. I think he got frustrated with me throwing off the timing, and then he decided that he can't keep chasing me doing weird timings. Would be my guess, especially if the room's filling faster. If I had to guess, him trying to be on stream, probably put him into like a good 25 to 50 like extra rooms because he was entering 2 or 3 at a time. So like, yeah, I think that if I had to guess, he probably bled himself out / realized that he shouldn't keep chasing it would be my guess. But a win for me. Christian McCaffrey at pick 2, also a win. I could choose to up my Tyreek, but I want to get more CMC in, so I'll do a CMC hero and see if I could have some fun with it. So CMC, I'll play the GIF. You take CMC above all the wide receivers. When you can up your Tyreek Hill exposure, get above the field, I would say maybe that makes you a little bit of an RB piggy. So there's my snout. I'm an RB pig. I can't imagine a world where Christian McCaffrey, coming off of a month-long calf strain, doesn't suddenly crush again as he's almost turning 30, and now he's married. But yeah, it doesn't matter. But if we're going to give a fantasy counselor take, and being married, could impact his play. Got too many photo shoots for Olivia Culpo. I'm an RB pig. I deserve it. Year 12 for Ertz always hurt. Didn't he ask to be released and then not play the rest of the year? I mean, he got the release and then he tried to play for Detroit, but he couldn't get on. He couldn't get on their active roster, which was what maybe initially be like, Washington couldn't possibly play this guy, right? Because Detroit needed somebody when Laporta was banged up in the playoffs and Ertz couldn't make their roster. Feels like that's a sign that maybe this guy's not tight end 1. But maybe it's one of those things where Ertz like looks okay and practice enough for the Commanders right now. Then they see him in a game and go, oh, this might be done. So I guess that would be the flip side for taking no Ertz. I just have so much in it. I do try to make a little bit of, when you have your bag so heavy one way, you kind of want to balance it out the other way a little bit. So if your bet misses big, then maybe something else hits. But I get it. Crystal Math, the front name. Shitty part of this room is that if I had to guess, there's going to be more likely value accumulating over here because you have some non-badge drafters, a guy with the name Crystal Math. Generally, that's where if you see a bunch of non-badge drafters in a row, tends to be some value accumulating in these spots. And downside is that value will probably not come back to me because the red badge here, assuming they're normal red badge drafters, probably going to soak up some of that value on the way back. So if we get it, probably won't come our way. Just general room dynamics I try to identify when I'm looking at the board before we dig in too deep. He is a good veteran leader. I mean, that was the initial logic for having Zach Ertz, that he was going to be like a coach on the field a little bit. Guys going to be a mentor to the young tight end room. We'll see. Certainly hope he yields his way sooner than later. Could it be that he was tired for playoff time being 50? I think he's one of those guys that's younger than we think. I feel like he's younger than Kelsey, right? He's 33. So a little bit younger than it seems. And tight ends can go a little bit later. We've seen Jimmy Graham keep getting jobs for a while. Mercedes Lewis is still in the league, and he's got to be, 38? 40. He's 40, and he's still kicking around. He's on the Bears roster for real. It's insane. I know. You're right. I mean, I said it yesterday. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I know. You don't get fantasy points for being I didn't know. I didn't know that. It's always helpful to know that. But what if you did? I mean, maybe on Sleeper, there's a setting you could change where, like, if the guy gives a good quote about his teammates, give him 1 point. Probably have to do that by hand, though. Hope everyone had a successful best ball season here, but a watcher for the last couple of years. Thank you for the hard work, Spags. Thank you, Red Spike. Always nice to hear that from somebody who's been watching and lurking along. Don't be afraid to chime in if you want. Appreciate that kind words. Thank you for that. Not going to be surprised if it's Ertz last year. I mean, I wouldn't be either. Pre-game speech. We don't see those, though. But if it makes TV, then you get a point. If the pre-game speech makes TV, or if you're seen on screen, given the breakdown, prayer circle, you get some points. We got some ways to do it. I don't want to do it. We got some ways to do it. I did see, though, there's a company that's now doing, I think it's, so you remember we used to do low ball on the streams regularly. It didn't get a lot of views, so maybe you don't, if you don't know it. But we did that for a while. We're basically trying to build teams that were the worst possible teams for a week. There's now a site, which isn't called low ball. It's called like low something, that's doing like worst fantasy team things, which Football Outsiders also did, the loser league. People have tried it before. It doesn't actually work because nobody really wants to play that format, but it's like a legit company trying to be created now, which blows my fucking mind that you think that's like the way that goes. Hardell, if you want to learn that, you can watch this past Friday's video and skim towards the end. It's in the timestamp stuff. I'm not going to do that personally for you. But a lot of Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Marshawn Lloyd. Those are the big ones. But I do it in great length on Fridays, so check it out. Derrick Henry going to 21. That's a little bit lofty. We're seeing the little bit of RB piggery. Maybe these guys will give me some value back. There we go. Sign of a fellow man of taste. Let's just hope he doesn't completely kill us. We got Cooper Kupp here, who I am low on somewhat deliberately. I got so much Puka at this point. He could be wide receiver 1. Devontae, Neighbors. Could just go Kyron and punt this decision, but I'll go Cooper Kupp here. Not a lot of Cooper Kupp for me. The price tag for him has moved. My shares of Cooper Kupp are probably, at this point, largely when he was in the 30s, 40s. So take him here. Haven't been able to adapt to his new price point. Oh, we're doing this bit. Marshawn Lloyd is the Kendre Miller, Devon A. Chans. That's hurtful. Just because it's a hamstring doesn't mean they're the same. I think he can still be the Devon A. Chan or Devon A. Chans. There's time. Adams comes back here, which feels okay if we're digging out, getting 2 previous wide receiver 1 caliber players, even though they probably are not going to be that moving forward. This feels, I got to tell you guys, this feels like a real boomery start. This feels like a team that I need to get some young guys that I really feel good about later on. We got Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams is the build we have going here. Okay, so Bo Nix is the Steve DeBerg of Joe Flacco's. Bo Nix, he has to be somebody with mobility. Bo Nix is the Steve Young of. This is a tough game. Bo Nix is the Steve Young of Christian Hackenberg's. I think that's it. I can live with that. Oh wow! All right. Red Spike, welcome to the family, Red Spike. That's already a good family kind of name, but Red Spike appreciates the support here. Make sure to sync your YouTube to your Discord so you get in the mix with the Squirt Squad VIP Discord. Welcome to the family, Red Spike. Appreciate you lurking, the kind words, and joining here for $4.99. And of course, you too can join down below, $4.99. You get my rankings updated weekly, which you'll have one more big update coming. I guess maybe 2. You get those updated weekly. We get my news updates that I do in the beginning of the show, an entire document with all of them going back a month now. So how many pages are we in the news document? Just out of curiosity. 12 pages in the news document. So get a 12-page bullet pointed kind of news document for yourself. You also get team reviews, 10 team reviews a month for me, which I've been catching up on. So there was a while there. I was getting really buried every day. I've caught up with most of you guys. So send them to me at Chris Spags on Discord if you are a member here on the channel. Hard to get Kupp outside of the flash contest now. I've been getting more Ayuk at a 2-3 turn range. Yeah, I take Ayuk pretty much after ADP whenever he's there. Whenever there's that little bit of a dip, just because people are like, oh, he might get traded still, I take him. I've got a lot of Ayuk in the 30s, which has kind of spoiled me. But I think him at the turn would be great, or well enough. Bo Nix is the Caleb Williams of Mac. You know what? I don't hate that. I don't hate that by Adam. Jaden Daniels is the Daniel Jones of Donovan McNabbs of Michael Vips of Lamar Jackson. It's a few too many. Jaden Daniels is the. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels is the CJ Stroud of ARs. So, but that's obviously, I think they're them. I think he's them combined. That's my Jaden Daniels one. Fun game, though. Difficult game. Difficult game to do live out of your mouth. I feel like better to type out, if I had to guess. Not to say that you guys are better at it than me because of that. I do think having a chance to wordsmith a little bit on the keyboard probably helps a little bit. JJ McCarthy is the Ty Detmer of Coy Detmers. That's all right. I don't think that's bad. I can't do anymore. It makes my brain hurt. It's got to be somebody relevant. Oh, okay. Drake May is the Anthony Richardson of Jacoby Brissett's. No, Drake May is the Anthony Richardson of Jake Lockers. No, because it would have to be somebody. This game is difficult. It's should be a board game though. Is it Sam Sherman? Is it Sam Sherman that came up with this, or like the ADP chasing guys in general, or is it just like a trope that's been around? Because it is a good trope. I'll give him that. Jade went 64 in a puppy. Wow. I don't hate it. What do you think of drafting Waddle with Hill? Is that negative correlation? No, it's okay in best ball. Probably a little bit overduped with the draft capital you're taking him at, but it's fine. There's no issue with it. I would rather have Waddle in a build because I don't love Waddle's price tag. I price him much lower than the industry. I have Waddle in my ranks at 24. He's got a 19.5 ADP. I'd rather have Devontae Smith ahead of him. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp ahead of him. I'm not the biggest Waddle guy in a bet with Tyreek because the way he hits is really Tyreek being out and then Waddle can hit his true apex. Because that pass game is more crowded this year. You're adding Jonnu, you're adding Malik Washington, you're adding Odell Beckham for whatever he plays. You're adding some guys in there, and growth for Devon Achane as well. He should get more pass game work. We've seen him running go routes in the preseason. So, like, I think a Waddle bet is going to be hard for a Tyreek bet to hit. But if you're making that bet, you're just saying the Miami smashed greater than ever, and maybe they run the ball in a little bit less. So, like, it's a bet that still has a logic to it. It's not my favorite bet given how easy it is to get. But next is Jim Kelly or Brett Favre's. I mean, I would take that. He runs, though. He's got to have somebody mobile. I feel like for any Bo Nix comp in those, it's got to be somebody who runs enough. That's why he's the Steve Young. Steve Young to Christian Hackenbergs, but still the Steve Young. All right, we got a pick coming up here. Worthy at 45. Woof. And Mahomes at 46 right after. Really don't think that Worthy should be flipping. Whew, okay. Cooper still here. Cooper is banged up in practice again, though. T. Higgins is here. Can up my Higgins. I like Cooper more as a play. Let's see. Let's see what happens when I click Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's the click. That's what happens when you want to click a guy and you click him. But I'll take a little bit of a value on Cooper here. Making it up at receiver, doing it with slight value is one way to get a little bit more unique here, in addition to getting Christian McCaffrey at the 102. So this receiver room, certainly older, experienced, gray hairs in the beard. They're doing okay. Figueroa Boulevard. Yeah, I had to drive that quite a few times back in my USC days, assuming that's the one we're talking about. T. Higgins goes to Patrick Barnes YouTube, who at least at one point was the ETR thumbnails guy. I don't know if he still is. This room would be nuts in 2019. If we could take this team back in time, it'd be crushing. Josh Jacobs goes. We won't be able to have that one today. Pickens in this build, meh. McLaurin bet increasing, I'm okay with. And I think I'm going to be okay with that here. Would be more inclined to go Pickens if we had any KC in this build, but we don't. So we're going to get a little bit younger at the position. And actually, no, Pickens would have also made us much younger. I can't even go that route. But we still will be getting younger with McLaurin added into this wide receiver room anyway. So Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin. We are live to make this team that, again, deviating from what I normally do. I haven't taken a lot of Cooper Kupp. Definitely have not taken Cooper Kupp with Christian McCaffrey very often. Definitely have not had this wide receiver room a lot. So we layer some Jaden on top of it. Who feels bad about that? Not me. That's the team. A 0-1-4-0 start. Let's see what we get. Oh, my nose is so itchy. But guys here, another team coming up. You enjoy the stream. If you got something useful out of it, even if it's just seeing how I handle stuff, seeing me gamble here on stream, please subscribe down below. Please hit that like button. Please leave a comment. Your engagements go a long way for everybody on YouTube, but especially for me as sole proprietor here. I'm competing against legit companies, teams of people with producers and stuff. It's just me here putting together shit on stream today. And I'm not gaming the YouTube algorithm. I'm just fucking here. I got views because I do the work every day. I do a good job of it. So if you want to be a part of that, going to keep doing it all season long for every NFL DFS slate pretty much. So hit that like button, subscribe, do all that, show some love. All right. Got some picks coming up in about an hour. So gonna hang on. This is one of those times where on the weekend I would just throw the football in the air and make people watch me catch a football. But instead, we'll find something to talk about. I think this room has been a little bit soft, but not terribly soft, which is the balance you can expect when you have a mix of red badges and no badges, black badges. Badges of all colors here. We welcome them all. AR back to his usual spot in this draft for being pick 69, that last one. Adam hates James Cook. Least favorite pick in round 5. I don't know. I think honestly it would probably be Josh Jacobs for me by exposure, but I don't know that I believe that. I actually kind of like round 5. The tough part of round 5 is where you're catching like some of the guys who are falling, like Pickens right now coming down to round 5. If he were in round 5 steadily, he'd probably be my least favorite. Kirk coming down with, how he's just moving. He's probably the worst pick in round 5 because he might end up in round 6 by next week. That's how that goes. I'm a loser, likes Cook. So it's good to know. I like Cook too, though. I think Cook's a fine play. I have a lot more Ray Davis because that's basically how you lever against not taking James Cook. But I would find it hard to believe that one of James Cook or Ray Davis don't hit this year. I think that situation is very prime for one of them to be somebody that can carry you through the year, be a big part of what you're doing the entire season. But also, week 17 spike week stuff and that kind of game too against the Jets where it's probably going to be a little bit ugly. I think that's the kind of spot where you could see those guys really matter at the end as well. JMO at 46 in the puppy. That's a little bit aggressive. But JMO is, that was where he was priced roughly last year. He was in the 50s before his gambling suspension hit. People like JMO. I mean, I like JMO too. I think JMO's price tag right now should be in the mid 70s. 40s would be a little bit aggressive. But you got to think too in these ranges, who's going here. If Keon Coleman's 61, it's not that crazy for JMO to be, in that same range. TD upside's a concern for Cook for me. I think that's fair. I mean, he did give away goal line work last year. I think really this year, though, he can win it. Like Ray Davis could be dead in the water, not get goal line work. And Cook's probably taking then all the RB goal line work. But you still have Josh Allen taking some away. So that's a trade-off. Another room here, Rodunze flipped Keenan Allen. Keenan falling in rooms, the fat stuff. Impossible to beat the fat campaign, especially because Keenan Allen, too, hasn't had any big performances in the preseason either. So Keenan Allen doing that. Tough scene. Going to lose some CLV on Christian Kirk and Keenan Allen, which is fair given that, it's half-point PPR. If that were the reason I was losing CLV on him, I would get it. But it's mostly because, Kirk's banged up, people afraid of injury. Keenan Allen had a couple reports about being fat. Now here's where we are. If JMO smashes, it most likely means Amon-Ra's not hitting. That's having me fade Amon-Ra. I don't think that's true. I mean, smashing in terms of if you're putting up 15 points a game, but smashing in terms of giving you the occasional 18, 20, I think that could just be him having his own role, absorbing some Josh Reynolds, a little bit more ping-ponging. Maybe more of those plays that, stop at the 1 to 5 yard line end up being touchdowns for the receiver instead. That's mostly what you're looking for. I think Amon-Ra, Laporta, and JMO can hit in a Detroit offense. It would just probably hurt the RBs a little. One thing I will say about JMO is I guarantee he won't be going to the same spot next. Well, that's true of most players, though. But it's possible that JMO could go down. I don't know. I think he'll have enough spike weeks that he can pay off the price tag. Lad goes 70 here. Got to point out, I've got him at 88 right now. Seen him go in the 90s. That's all I'm going to say. Which is not everything, but that is all I'm going to say. Chris Godwin here again, getting a little more exposure. I've got this pocket pretty well covered in terms of my exposures. Could do Alvin Kamara as well for the correlation here. I'm going to go Godwin, though. This is a pretty big discount. Godwin at 71 feels nice. I had to bump Godwin up in my ranks because I just wasn't getting him, and I still want to get some. I think he's a better play on DraftKings and drafters than he is on Underdog. But I moved him up to be able to get some access to him. He's fallen back to 70 here. I think I got to scoop that. His room is actually kind of unique. I'm not mad about how this room shook out. Shook, whatever. See what Patrick Barnes is going to do. At this point, we have some different ways we could go. I think we could credibly add a 6th receiver here and have some week 17 correlation. All right, so that was the guy I was thinking for the week 17 correlation, so that's out the window. Kamara can give us some with Devontae, as I mentioned. I don't think I mind that. Connor would also give us some. I do have to make it up on Kamara. This team, this is a fucking throwback team here. The team so far is 0-2-5-0. Oh my God. I'm embarrassed of the team. We have Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, is the team here. So you see a team like this one and you go, hey, wow, that looks awesome. Let me know if you want to buy action out of my BBM portfolio to help fund Probably's bills. Because you too can have a share of this team filled with the players that were better in 2018. New Orleans, Las Vegas, the game you need. I mean, what? Vegas has 2 games in domes. It's possible they go on a playoff run, but God, betting on a Luke Getsy offense and that kind of situation with Antonio Pierce, who we know just wants to run the ball. The one thing for Pierce, though, you have to say that could be interesting for those 2 games if they could somehow be good. The Raiders don't have any issue putting up points like we saw with the Chargers game last year. Like they'll hammer you if they can. So maybe there's some more utility for New Orleans, Las Vegas than it would seem. Anyway, I know 2 guys I would like to have come back to me at 95 and 98. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Ooh, do we see that one-handed snag? I don't even need my left hand. My gosh. That's actually a pretty good spot. The top 100 picks, I'd argue that Chris Godwin's the worst prize pick on the board. He's not that bad at 70, baby. With what he did last year, though, they're going to move him in the slot. He's going to be Cooper Kupp. If you listen to the signal that they've given for him, like it is pretty good that he's moving back to the slot, his natural position. Tried to make him play out of position last year. The offense, too, with it being a Ramsey offense, going to be a little bit less downfield attacking, even though that is kind of Baker's penchant. The way his instincts go is getting the ball downfield. I do think that Godwin's got a little more utility. That's part of why I want to get with the field on him. But I agree at like 60, I don't like the price. With him priced next to Ladd McConkey, Deontay, and somebody reaching for Josh Palmer, I think it looks a little bit better. Hilarious this guy is reaching for the Chargers stack, though. Like, you really got to set up a Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer. You can't risk that Josh Palmer won't come back to 94. I like Liam Cohen. I like what Liam Cohen has said in camp so far. I don't like what Liam Cohen did at Kentucky. I don't think he did anything that interesting, but we'll see. He gets one more chance. He's from the Rams tree, the Sean McVay tree. Give him a shot. Minshew hype video has to move a needle a little bit. I would still rather have Derek Carr over Minshew in that spot every single time. Just know one's a starter that they can't afford to bench. The other one is basically feels like has a contract to take the fall for Aiden O'Connell at some point. It's his true ceiling 1,005 touchdowns. He can do more. I mean, it just depends how the offense does. But look, I'm not the biggest Godwin guy. I just think once you start getting to that kind of worldview, again, you're talking about Ladd in his range, you're talking about Josh Palmer in his range, even Deontay in his range. It's like the other guys there are like, it's a smash. Like they're going to crush what we would think that Chris Godwin's going to do. They're all similar probability plays. But I get it. Had to step away for a meeting. The stream is still going. I love it. Yeah, I'm trapped here. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a cage. Ugh. But hey, I got to get my drafts done, guys. I'm giving you my action here on stream. Warts and all. Now, this team, honestly, like, I think this team has gotten a lot of value. I just wish it wasn't all guys that, like, have had their best years already. So one thing for me where I think for fantasy football that I differ from others is, like, I'm not trying to chase somebody's good years. I'm not trying to pay the tax generally for previous performance, even though previous performance is generally the best indicator, future performance. For guys who are getting older, though, like when you have the young, the younger parts around them, or like I took Terry over Pickens, that is a little bit taking the old guy. Took Cooper over Higgins, that is a slightly older guy. Adams over IU, Kupp over Devontae, even Neighbors. Took a lot of old guys here over young guys. That's the one thing that freaks me out. Jalen Warren's price tag already finding his depth. I got him in the 100s a couple times. Here he goes, 91. If Terry had his best year already, I'll be 0%. I don't think Terry has. That would be the one I would say probably hasn't. The rest of the guys probably have. Just being real about it. But Terry, I think, this year, my hope would be this is his best year. Of course, this name, I won't say because we won't say. Shaden Daniels goes to the guy who only has 3 receivers through 8 rounds. We love these drafts. We love drafts this time of year. It's so much fun just being in the mix here with our pals. Take Brock Bowers for this pick. We'll deal with what comes after. Unfucking believable. I get wanting Jaden, but you got to get fucking receivers when you have Kyler Murray and only 3 receivers, bro. Ooh. Anyway, we're at the point of the year, by the way, where because Jaden's price tag hasn't moved, I'm now unchained on Jaden. If I go 50% Jaden down the home stretch, I don't give a fuck. So that's where we've landed with Jaden for me. If he goes in the 80s, I won't be there. If he goes in the 90s, I want to be there pretty much all the time. We got McCaffrey, Kamara. All right, so we got a team building out here, if nothing else. Frustrating team, but a team. Huge value on Mostert here, and he does give me some week 16 correlation, so sure. Let's get with the field on Mostert. Man, this team is like not bad. Just the QB thing. Just frustrating. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, tight end Brock Bowers. Got a foot injury right now, so maybe would have fallen a little bit further than I took him at, but we're taking him anyway. But that Jaden Daniels pick is not how you build a team. 3 RBs, 3 receivers, and 2 QBs in a top 95 is not smart. That's wasted money and picks that could have gone to better homes. Joking to build Cleveland would have been nice. Yeah, I guess. I want New Orleans, Las Vegas more. I want Brock more. I'm building Cleveland mostly if I have a Miami guy. I don't have any Miami. I mean, I have Mostert, I guess, but I would have to flip Bowers. I'm not going to flip Bowers and Njoku either. I said that yesterday. I stand by that one. Though it's possible that, again, if Bowers does stay out with the foot injury, he could fall past Njoku. So that'd be the logic on the other side of it. That's best ball, unfortunately. Like, you can make a case at some point where it's like, yeah, you know, like, I don't want to flip Bowers and Njoku. That's the way I felt yesterday. It's the way I felt in my head right now. But in reality, if Bowers is hurt just a little bit, that might be the thing that knocks him down beneath Njoku. And that could change the way I view that. The mental gymnastics sometimes this time of year. You see my message earlier to DM me later? Can you just shoot me a DM, Wounded Geese? Anybody who wants to reach out to me about the stuff I talked about, just shoot me a DM, please. But just DM me on Discord, Wounded Geese. You know where I am on there. At Chris Spags. If you can. Or Twitter, whatever. Either one. I'll see it. All right, so let's give this team a read here. Recenter myself a little bit down the home stretch. 0-3-5-1. We got CMC at the second pick. Alvin Kamara. Anybody could DM me, I think. Let's just, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure anybody could DM me. Confirm that. Because, I get message requests all the time. You don't have to, yeah. You should be able to DM me, I think. But let me know. Let me know if not. Fucking help me out, Wounded Geese. Whatever you're trying to reach me about. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Brock Bowers here is our team so far. Brock Purdy goes. In some world, I think he could have come back to me. That's not this world. But taking Purdy over those guys we just took, like, this room to me is kind of popping. The RB room feels really good. Wide receiver room feels solid, even though aged and decrepit. Tight end room, we got our young guy upside there. I don't know, man. I'm very happy with how this is coming along, actually. So, still feels uncomfortable to take the old guys always. Njoku goes at 111, so maybe I got it backwards. Maybe Njoku's the one falling in rooms. Who knows in this crazy workaday world of ours? Oh, I got, you know what? When Wounded Geese, I followed you back on Twitter, by the way, so I got you now. Hopefully the same Wounded Geese. What's your favorite in the Ramondre Swift, Montgomery, Jones RB range? Montgomery. But I do like a lot of those guys. That's the pocket I'm hitting in 0 RB and hero RB builds a lot. So I like everybody in that range. But I have the most Montgomery by far. I've had him pinned at one point in the 60s, was taking him though in the 70s. I think his true price tag is like in the 60s. So I love Montgomery, but really all those guys are fine. Aaron Jones, the one that falls the most though relative to his ADP. Actually, no, he and Ramondre both will have 10 pick falls. And then Swift as well. Swift's the cheapest of them. They all are really valid, though, in different ways. That pocket would have been so much more expensive last year than it is this year. It's part of why. It's why I like 0 RB builds a lot more this year and hero RB. because everybody's tempted to take that early RB, and you have a really good pocket of RBs now that I think are going to be pretty strong for you. Jones is great when he plays, but how much does he play, though? It could be something, too. I mean, he is hurt a lot, but it could be something where, you know, maybe not being in the Packers, maybe they were more cautious with him than not. That's in play as a consideration. Hawkinson at 118. These guys here, J-Dubs and Jackie Long, are just fucking doing bizarro shit in those spots. I think we need a fourth RB here, though. Really kind of feel like we could roll with this team as it is. There's nothing on the board at receiver that I would take here. This is fucking insane. I think scooping Zach Moss value is the move to get to 4 RBs. And I guess we're just going to go up and get something besides that. Patrick Barnes, YouTube, scooping up some RBs too. This is not a fun pocket. All right. Cleveland, Jerry Jeudy. All right. We could do it this way. Not a big Jeudy fan. This pocket of receiver is one that I'm really low in exposure to. I'm going to add Jerry Jeudy in, though. All right. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 6 here. 0.461 build. This team maybe didn't need the 4th RB, but we got him for free, basically. So Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, a little bit of a discount. Raheem Mostert, a 9-pick discount after he just had a preseason game where he put in a lot of work. We have Zach Moss here as RB4. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, the tight end Brock Bowers. So the room's overall looking good. QB is going to be the one that's going to be tricky because we lost a couple guys. And this room is not necessarily willing to give any respect to stacks. So that's the tough part. This is coming along okay, though. Will Levis is the Jimmy Garoppolo of James Dean's. Oh, that James Dean. Oh, wow. Jeff T, that's a deep one. 0 Gabe Davis? I guess so. I don't think I have 0. Really? That surprises me that I have 0. I have to confirm that. That feels like that could be a sheet error because I think I've taken Gabe Davis on stream before. It's possible. I don't take a lot of Gabe Davis. Yeah, no. I have no shares of Gabe Davis in anything. I mean, like, I get why I don't, because I take so much Christian Kirk, and I was taking a lot of Brian Thomas before. But yeah, no, I have no Gabe. He's a starter. He got big paid. I should probably have some. I think it's a fair critique if you're going to critique me for it. The issue is this is where I'm grabbing RBs. So, like, you go through my receivers here, all these guys are low. Like, even Josh Downs, who I like, you know, Darnell Mooney, who I like, all these guys are low. I haven't taken Dotson a little bit more. Where I should have been pulling from, because like now Dotson's become a bad bet whose ADP is going down. If I'd been pulling from Dotson to go to Gabe this whole time, it would have looked better. But like I'm low on Polk, I'm low on AD Mitchell, I'm low on Mike Williams, I'm low on everybody in this particular receiver range because I'm usually getting Chandler, Corum, Zeke, like whoever's here, whoever falls from the 20s. But I think it's a fair point. Yeah, look, good call. I think it's a good call by Adam. Okay, but grabbing RBs in the Gabe range, then you pivot to it when the guys move up. I think that's logical. Unless I'm just stretching here. Sorry. It's getting a little tight. You know how it is. Us athletes here. Like an esports guy. Peeing in a bottle underneath the table. Yeah, Gabe Davis too. ADP's come up a little bit, but still at 133 here. Which is always the way to play Gabe Davis, despite what historical ADPs have told us. Gabe Davis, wide receiver 6. At that point, it's all gravy on top. And that's true of most positions too. That's why for me, you know, worrying about Troy Franklin at this point, like if I don't take another share of Troy Franklin this entire year, I'll still have a little bit under 12%, I believe, is what that mathed out to. I did that math because I saw Pete tweeted about it, that he would have 16% Troy. I didn't know he was even more in on Troy than I was, which throws me for a loop. But like, you know, for those picks, it's like if Troy doesn't come through, then you know what? You lost your last receiver here. Hopefully you drafted the other shit well, gave enough capital to your other positions. And if that guy does hit, then it's just gravy on top. And obviously Gabe, you expect to hit more. Like he's got a much higher probability of hitting this year than Troy Franklin does Gabe Davis. But it's still something where Yeah, if the guy's 6, it's just mostly luxury at that point. You're just taking volume. True, 40-year-old athletes do get tight. That's why we don't root for Aaron Rodgers. That's why I guess why I should root for him. I should root for his comeback, but I shouldn't have faith in it. I ran the other day a little bit, and I was like, and actually, this is the funny part of it was that. So I ran a little bit the other day, but mostly just doing walking every day because I just don't want to get banged up and hurt. But like I ran the other day, and as my first step, like before I even started running, like tweaked my hamstring a little bit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Pushed through it for the workout because, I'm tougher than Marshawn Lloyd. But yeah, I think that's really the main thing for me at this point is I feel pretty good about my age and all of that. But if you put me in a football game, I think I would die. So that's how I feel for Aaron Rodgers as well, even though he's got the power of ayahuasca, and I do not have that. Try as I might. I just don't have that. Jared Goff goes at 140. Fucking weird room, man. Like Lawrence got steamed up like crazy. Goff goes the huge discount. Sweet team for this guy. This guy got Lamar and Goff. A little low at receiver. But he's got Lockett as wide receiver 5. Free Fly North, I think, doing a good job making the most out of this room. Which I'm also doing too, for the record. I've made the most out of this room. I'm just like kind of getting fucked at QB a little here. I'm 30. Me and my buddies played rec flag football last year. Everyone got hurt. Yeah, I was still okay. I think at 30, like the cliff from 30 to 40 though has been awful. And having a kid, like I think that kind of fucks you up a little bit more. Giving birth to a child just takes it out of you. All right. So in this room, we do have some plays that are kind of important to us at this point. RB, we don't need shit. Matthew Stafford, I never want to take early, but I think we could just be done with QB and not have to worry about this bullshit anymore. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take Matthew Stafford with one of these picks. I'm going to click it. Even though it was timing out anyway, I clicked it. All right, let's see what Patrick Barnes does. We'll make one more pick. See some good chats coming through, though. I'll hit them in a minute. All right, so I think we just go get the Sean here. We got the Cleveland double. We've got enough value on this team. I don't want to get boxed out in QB in a room where people are a little bit reckless. So we got 2 QBs in here, Matthew Stafford. And again, guys that normally do fall. But like at this point, you look at the board, even sorting by ADP, it's like, okay, Michael Wilson's here. I could go get him. But I don't want to risk losing Deshaun, especially because I might do a 3rd game stack. So that's how I feel about it right now. Team right now is a 2-4-6-1. Matthew Stafford, Deshaun here, reaching for them both. We got enough values, I think, that justified in my head. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Brock Bowers. I actually think, and you guys might think this is insane, I think it's another team that could withstand having 4 QBs and potentially 4 game stacks. How I would hit that would be difficult. I think it's possible. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Have you seen the video with league mates doing 40-yard dash for draft positions in fantasy, like 8 pull hamstrings? I have not seen that. That does sound funny, though. I kind of tune out all the fantasy football, like punishment stuff, but I'd be curious to watch that one. Are you able to see total tournament exposure on Underdog? Like what players have been drafted under 10% of all? No, you can't see that. ETR has a projection of it. I think Spike Week has a projection of it. Those are the 2 that you could use that I would say are pretty credible. I would say ETRs, though, would be the one you probably look at. Spike Weeks, though, I think uses actual customer data, so they might have a pretty good one as well. Shout out guy Kendrick saying fire. Kendrick, always my biggest hype man. I appreciate him for it. You and your 4 QBs. The 4 QB builds are fun, man. If you hit the positions right. I mean, you look at this team with like a 2-4-6-1 and a tight end that's like pretty good, or at least should be pretty good. You could add more volume on, but like if Cooper Kupp, Adams, like Amari Cooper, McLaurin, Godwin, Jeudy aren't hitting, if they're not hitting, I'm just like fucked anyways. Like, I don't know what the point is of adding that one late guy on top is in builds like this, where you got enough capital in. Jeudy is like enough the thin wide receiver 6 that I probably want to add a 7 on. But I can live with it. Jeudy, though, I will never forget Jeudy killing me so bad when he was my great white hope as a low-owned guy in not the Underdog Finals, the DK Millie Maker Finals last year in Best Ball. And I had Jerry Jeudy with the nut run out, no Cortland Sutton in that game. We're like, week 17, Jerry Jeudy's going to show it. He fucking put up the exact same game he always had. I think he had like 2 for 20 or some shit. Just a useless game from Jerry Jeudy. I will never let him down. I'm not a banned list like, oh, this player, can't imagine him ever again. Not a banned list kind of guy. But holy fuck, do I hate Jerry Jeudy for what he did last year in week 17. What coach gets fired 4 games in? So it's got to be somebody who might have lost. Dennis Allen. That was probably too fast. It's got to be a guy who runs the risk of having lost his team. Maybe there's somebody interesting they want to see beneath him, like Clint Kubiak might be. Could also go the defensive coordinator, I'm sure, to be the interim head coach. But I'd say Dennis Allen would be the most live. Carolina at this point would be a no. Tampa Bay won't fire Todd Bowles for the culture and all that. I think that team's pretty locked in. Don't think Raheem Mostert's getting fired at this point fast like he did previously in his career. Bengals. Sean McDermott's too embedded in Buffalo, but that's the kind of team you could look at. Ooh, Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh could be one. Jets go 0-4 to open. Panic mode sets in. My Jets bets look infinitely better. Robert Saleh. Eberflus or Saleh? Oh, interesting. Eberflus did barely hang on, but he did withstand an organizational shift this past year. So they might be pot committed to him. But at a certain point, I guess if they went 0-4, somebody's head's got to roll. Oh, it is Saleh. Okay, I legit said that without even knowing. All right, cool. That's fun. All right, yes, it's Saleh. There we go. That's exactly the kind of team, though. Aaron Rodgers exerts his will. Suddenly Nathaniel Hackett's the head coach. Oh, man. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Saleh should have been fired last year. I would say he shouldn't have, just because he didn't really lose the team throughout that and actually kind of reinvigorated the team down the home stretch, which is a pretty impressive part of coaching, like losing the team. And then like once they're lost, usually they're gone. But he lost them and brought them back, which I thought was, you just don't see a lot. So I get why you bring him back. He also never really had a fair shot at like the true upside that he could have as a coach and could give the team as a coach. Noah Fant at 148. I feel like this guy's just given bad flips on every position here that we've seen be huge values. These two guys, really. But he gets McLaughlin as a value, I guess. We're on the clock here. Well, guys, we got Baker Mayfield coming back. I think that's a logical thing to do with this part of things. Demarcus Robinson here to increase our Rams bet would also be okay. I'll go Demarcus and increase the Rams bet. So we don't have any Carolina stuff. It's going to be hard to tack some Carolina stuff on. Unless I took Jatavian Sanders again. All right, 2-4-7-1. Baker still here. Tight end at this point would be nice to be able to do. All right, we got Jonnu Smith reaching for him. You know what? Fuck it. You guys gave me license, right? You said round 14 after I could just take whoever the fuck I want. Greg Dortch, Jonnu Smith. Greg Dortch, I think we need a little bit more on the team. I'm going to go Greg Dortch. Let's hope that tight end just pushes down back towards us. So it's a 2-4-8-1 now. A lot of capital at RB, so we've been done there for a while now. Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, still live for a third QB, even if it's not Baker Mayfield. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, the RB room. Really like the RB room. I feel like it's got a good floor, got the ceiling we need. Week 12 maybe gets a little bit tougher, but who cares? Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Demarcus Robinson, and Greg Dortch. And we need more tight end with just Brock Bowers, but probably a 3 tight end build. We got 4 picks left. No, 3 picks left. I think ideally 1 Miami player, maybe a Vegas QB, 1 New Orleans player, I think would be it. Because at this point, we've taken Kupp and Demarcus Robinson. Whittington would work in a build where we were saying Puka Nacua is hurt, but it's still like a contingent value play. Pete had a good video helping people visualize how little ADP matters after round 14. I didn't see that, but good to know. No, in my mind, I've always had it like round 16 and after. I guess like maybe I read that at some point and internalized it, but 14, I could see that being the case. How many sacks does Danny Dimes take this year over under 100? They're going to throw more deep balls, but I think they're definitely aware of the sack problem. Yeah, I would take the under. 100 would be hard, but you know, with how he played last year, I get it. They forced Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, which is why he's having to run a mile with a 100-pound weight. It's look, Robert Saleh's in great shape. Sexy bald man. For all the bald guys out there, there's hope. So, you look at Robert Saleh and you go, here's our guy, Robert Saleh. Love him. Jalen McMillan going 178. Still probably end up low on Jalen McMillan this year. Like he solidified his role, but I think it is a split role with Trey Palmer. Got 3% McMillan, so I've avoided the ship chasing curse if that's a thing. But I certainly get how people are excited for him. He's probably had the kindest coach speak of any rookie in football, besides maybe like the star QBs. So like Todd Bowles like treats Jalen McMillan like he's his son. He's like, man, he did such great work today. I'm so proud of him. Just like love what he's doing out there. Can't believe how much he's growing right before my eyes. That Jalen McMillan. That's how Todd Bowles talks about him. Saul has no plan for the preseason. I don't like that. So like what struck me as weird was the Aaron Rodgers stuff. So Aaron Rodgers, when he went to Egypt a couple of weeks back, basically was fuck. Jonnu goes. Oh, I really wanted Jonnu all the way back. So basically, like Aaron Rodgers had told them in advance about it. They then were like, okay, and then basically moved the mini camp so that it was in the time period he was going to be gone. I guess they expected him to change his trip, even though he told them about it in advance. And then they were like lightly mad at him about it. And he was really mad at them, of course, as Aaron Rodgers does. As a man who maybe doesn't talk to his family can get, maybe a little angry at times. So Aaron Rodgers then, I think there's already signs of discontent. And, last week, actually might have been, was it Monday? Everything blurs together because I'm doing this every day. But I think it was Monday. They had one of the worst practices they've had all offseason where like Rodgers was a 6 for 21 or some shit. And like Garrett Wilson made a couple plays, but everything else was bad. I make anti-Jets bets. So that's the thing I've been doing all year. People ask me about my Brees exposure and all of that. I'm low on that stuff, but I do think that from my perspective, really think the Jets would be a team I'd be worried about. I'd be worried about the team where the coach has the highest odds of getting fired, but yet people invest in them like it's all gravy and like they've shown improved. 100% agreement with Adam here. McMillan's issues, he's primarily a slot guy, and that's Godwin's role. Yeah, I think they're going to try to move him out wide, and it just that doesn't work as often as people want that to work. When you're a slot guy and you have a track record of proving in the slot, being efficient in the slot in college, usually your life is going to be as a slot guy. Like Josh Downs is kind of an example of that. Killed in the slot at UNC, goes to the pros. They try him out wide a little bit, not really working. Back in the slot, he's great. He's their slot guy. JSN would be one of the guys you're hoping is going to overcome, move a little bit more outside. But if I had to guess, he settles in probably mostly as a slot. I think that's how a lot of these guys go. Doesn't mean you're going to have a bad career, but it does mean that if that's your hype and your hope, the slot guy's blocked often a lot more than people want to see and realize. Brian, at the beginning part of the video, he had Giants front office on Hard Knocks. One of my favorite parts of this offseason content-wise. All right, we got a 2-4-8-1 here. Obviously need some tight ends, and we have one I have to make up exposure to here in Colby Parkinson. So Colby Parkinson, I think, is one of these. Oh, well, this is the tough part. All right, so I could do the thing I always do and just go New Orleans here and make that work. And go Juwan and Carr for my Vegas stack. Or I could go Parkinson and get different on that game. I'm going to go Parkinson. I want to get some exposure there. We've got Stafford. Let's do it. A little too stacky on the Rams here. But I have so much Puka. This is now fundamentally a bet about Puka failing. Juwan Johnson goes, so he's not going to be an option for us. Another Ray share would be okay. Cleveland, Miami would be okay. Do I really want to take Minshew? I think if I'm going to take Minshew, it's going to be in the last round. Fuck. Malik Washington, did I click it? No, Malik Washington, rare share of him. Oppo correlation with Miami and Cleveland here. Maybe could have taken Cedric Tillman instead to give me the direct correlation with Cleveland. But we've got Cooper and Judy. I feel like a Tillman bet would be better served as a bet against one of those guys. So Malik Washington is our bring back here. A little bit of a week 16 bring back for SF as well. And we have Bowers and Colby, and I think can just take whatever we want in the last round. So it's a 2-4-9-2. Oh, wow. Tyler called it really early. Okay, you got it. I honestly was thinking that the whole time, but was trying to figure out if there was something else I wanted to do more. So we got Stafford, Deshaun, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Demarcus Robinson, Greg Dortch, and Malik Washington here as wide receiver 9. And then we have Brock Bowers and Colby Parkinson. So up in my exposure on some guys I do like late. It's the name of the game at this point. I think the team works okay. Go back to the board view with one more pick to go. And guys, if you enjoyed this stream, if you got something out of it, please do subscribe down below, hit the like button. I am now down the home stretch doing drafts literally every day, including on the weekends. I do BBMs here during the week. Best Ball Mania 5 with $1.5 million to first place. On the weekend, I head to the World of Drafters and do their tournament, the Drafters Million, with $500K to first place and a very good shot of a lot of overlay. So check that out as well. Drafters.com, promo code SPLASH, a $100 deposit match. And again, a very good shot. The Drafters Million has $400K, maybe even more of overlay. So encourage you to check that one out at drafters.com, promo code SPLASH. And of course, Underdog, promo code SPLASH as well. If for some reason you're watching this video, just looking for some redraft style content to get you ready for your fantasy football draft, Underdog, just gamble instead. Why do it for free? Why do a version of the thing that you want to do for free? We can do a completely different version for money. So please do that as well. Oh, God, hiccup. We're good. We're good. Professional broadcasters here can get through plugs. It's always the goal. Shout out to the chat, by the way. A lot of fun here hanging out with you guys today. Appreciate it. Cedric Wilson, last pick. Not out of play. Do you think we have more of a Vegas bet at this point? So I think QB3 Gardner Minshew were to come back, I think he's the click for me. Mayo's not getting fired after year one, especially considering his relationship with Kraft. I think they may have made a mistake with the hire. I'm not about Mayo specifically, but just not severing the ties of Belichickiness in the organization. So that's the one thing I would say would maybe, you could see a move. Probably wouldn't happen until after the year. I don't think they would disrespect Mayo by firing him in year. The end of the year, I think it'd be possible. It's not like he's making that much money either. Like, it wouldn't hurt him. And maybe they could get a free agent like Bill Belichick to come in the offseason next year. But there could be somebody else they like more who's available. Like, that's a possibility. Big Lenny wants to see Trey Tucker. I don't know that increasing the Vegas bet without the QB is the move, given that we do have Devontae and Bowers. You don't see a win on the schedule for New England. Look, whenever you see that, though, teams can always fight their way to 500 more than you think. I don't know if the Patriots would seem to do it. In the offseason, I did believe more in like Gerard Mayo being able to get stuff going. And, also Alex Van Pelt as offensive coordinator, just being able to be smart enough to put together a good offense. We haven't seen it yet. I shouldn't throw out my priors on these guys for just what we haven't seen in the offseason, the preseason, but it doesn't seem great. I don't know. I still think they could be 500. And I think that's mostly how they keep Drake May off the field, or Jacoby Brissett keeps Drake May off the field, is them being around 500. But the bets can unpack a little bit. Mayo hire was a mistake because they should have went with an offensive guy like Canales to go with May. I mean, Canales would have been a fire hire for them. He says all the right things, still wants to run pretty aggressively, do all that. All right, so Carr here. The issue for me is that Carr is a much more stable pick, but I have at this point 20% Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is the steal of all drafts. I love Jane Daniels. My Derek Carr exposure is getting there because he's in the 18th round and he's always available for you. But Gardner Minshew is going to be my rare pick here as QB3. So the final team here is a 3-4-9-2. We have Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Gardner Minshew is the QB room. So 2 week 10 buys, but obviously that doesn't matter. We got Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss is the RB room. So a really loaded RB room. 3 picks of the top 100, including the big values on Mostert and Moss. That feels pretty good to me. And getting McCaffrey at 102, I'm not going to complain about it. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Mari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Demarcus Robinson, Greg Dortch, Malik Washington. I think I threw more volume at receiver than I had to. Maybe could have had one less and gone tight end for one more. Think that would have been the way to do this. But fucking lot of receiver here. That's 2 teams in the books, guys. Another 2 here. That's BBM number fucking what? 117 for me. Is that correct? It's BBM number 117 for me, guys. So, again, drafts here every day on Splash Play. Use promo code SPLASH at Underdog for $1,000 in bonus cash. If you go deposit on there right now. Same thing on Drafters, though a different match. $100 deposit match on Drafters. Again, Drafters million, you get my full cosign. Last year, I put in 9 entries, still finished top 110. With the much overlays there's going to be on Drafters, you get a much more realistic shot to have one of those top prizes. And that last year, that's what put me to profitability. So, check it out at drafters.com. Promo code SPLASH. Of course, Best Ball Overlay, that's the data tool I use on screen. It's gotten to the point where I'm somebody that loves to draft on my phone. I now don't draft on my phone. I just draft on my laptop because I love using the Best Ball Overlay tool that much. So biggest ad I can give them, bestballoverlay.com. Promo code SPLASH gets you $10 off a month. So that's basically all the Best Ball Overlay you need here. And thank you to all the fine folks who've joined the channel, including the guys who've joined today. Our guy Red Spike and I think Disbanded Brotherhood from Tyler's Generous Gift. You too can join the channel down below and support my work here. I do this every day and try to give you guys everything that's in my head about football. And you can choose to do what you want with it. But I'll always give you the takes. I'll push back on stuff. I'll tell you how I see it. That's the promise here on Splash Play. So join down below, support my work here, and get a bunch of VIP perks. VIP Discord, my rankings updated weekly, which you can export to Underdog, and of course, 10 team reviews a month. And I see you guys hanging on as though I'm going to do another draft, but it's a 2-draft cap today, guys. So gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time here. Woo! Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod, and I'll be back tomorrow with more. So, hey, enjoy your days, guys. And no matter what you're gambling on, good luck. Bye-bye.